Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਦਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ
Thank you so much, Benji, for agreeing to do this. It's Vasaki in the UK, the Vasaki time. We have a big program going on tomorrow, the release of the Motherhood movie. There's lots of inspiring stuff. And when I thought about having a podcast for Vasaki time, you guys were the first people that came to mind. So no pressure. But if we ask a question around the name of your page, I think that's kind of where I wanted to start with. Can you give me a bit of a backstory with that?
Okay, so it was mainly okay at the starting when we started the page. We were like we wanted to have more BB out, and none of us wanted to go public. So first we made Jaswinder Kaur's personal page public, and then she made it private. And then the main point was for her to go public, and then she didn't want to do it alone. So I'm like, okay, I'll support you. But we were like going through many names, but then Ajdinews came because A and J. Ajit,
Ah,
and the C. Nobody gets it, but I thought it was really like
We
smart.
never shared it with anybody. That's
Yeah.
why.
But A and J, Amrit and Jassi, and then Ajdi News, like basically,
Today's news.
yeah, today's news. Because then let's make it. Then we made it philosophical. Where like basically whatever you share today, whatever you learn today, whatever you implement today, will create that change tomorrow or the next second. So
yeah, I love your post because of its relatability. I feel like sometimes things can seem really lofty and can seem a bit inapproachable or inaccessible. And basics, I think, do also a good job of making things accessible for people who aren't Amritari. I myself was a Monna up until a couple of years before I got married, and it just seemed like very much them and us. You have the Amritari community, and then you have the normal Punjabi community, and there wasn't, in where I'm from anyway, there wasn't much of a connection between the two. So thank you for the content you put out. It's very inspiring. In terms of Amritullah, where do you advise people start off? And so you answered questions around how much sleep should people be having? What should people be doing if they're struggling with it? Because I think a lot of people do struggle with it.
for me personally, it's something, yeah, like it's not like it's well and then it goes down and then it's well and then that's the journey. I think the biggest thing they need to start off with is sleeping on time, right? If you don't sleep on time, you won't be able to wake up earlier. Rather than jumping the gun and being like, okay, let's wake up at 2 a.m. Let's start off with like, let's say 7 a.m. If you usually wake up at like 9, wake up at 7 a.m. Then slowly 7, 6:30, then 6, then 5. That's the progress that needs to be made. And you kind of need to be gentle with yourself and be like, it's okay if I'm not, if I messed up today or like I skipped one day, let's retry again tomorrow. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. That's the biggest thing I keep in my mind, that this is something I really want to do. So if you really want to do something, you're going to keep trying at it, no matter how much you fail.
That's amazing. Again, I think it's really positive and encouraging. Benji, what are your thoughts around how much someone should be sleeping? Because I have some friends who do sangat with a Baba Ji, Baba Fauja Singh, comes down from India, spends a few months there, and they say he never sleeps. So when they're with him, they try and do the same thing. And then I listened to some katha of Baba Isha Singh, and I read Chittiyan of Bhai Veer Singh, and he would say, oh, you should sleep 7-8 hours. You don't want to go in excess, but you also don't want to harm the body by trying to do too much hartan in the when you're starting out. And these guys, they kind of feel a bit guilty if they were to sleep a normal night's sleep, 7-8 hours. So what are your thoughts on that?
I have very open thoughts on sleep. For me, of course, when you're around Santani Sangat, when you're around Gursikh Sangat, Mapup Sangat, like you don't even feel like sleeping. You don't have that desire to sleep. You're going to be awake.
Capable of doing anything.
You're because that energy is there and you don't want to sleep. It naturally happens. But when you go out of that, it's really hard. And I think for one thing that I did about my sleeping is when I had the week off, I tracked it. So I just slept at the same time every single day. And I wrote down when I woke up, like your body wakes up when you're fully rested, or if you need to go to the washroom, but your body wakes up when you're fully rested. So I think it's okay to start off there. and how much sleep really depends on how much your body needs. And as of course, how like Mahapurukhs and so many gursikhs, as you do more bhakti, as you go deeper into that state of mind,
sleep becomes less relevant.
Yeah, sleep decreases itself.
Yeah.
I think that shouldn't be your first focus. I think the first focus always is how does your body feel and how can I get started, and like just take that step to do that.
Because it's also like people will try to sleep like 3-4 hours, and then while they're doing their nitrim, their gurkha is falling out of their hand, or they can't even focus on what they're reading because they're so tired. And then I'm like, well, that's not the point. You might as well be fully rested and then do your nitrim with full concentration.
Because again, you can't quickly, like we really honestly, we all expect ourselves to go from one stage to a next stage in a blink of an eye.
Yeah.
Like that's an expectation we all hold consciously or unconsciously on ourselves. And it's really important to recognize that that's not how we're going to make that progress or make it consistent.
We're in kindergarten trying to get a PhD. That's what I always say.
Yeah. We hope that answered the question.
It does really eloquently. Onto the next question, which is related. I've heard the Bhaisab that we were talking about earlier, your trainer Bhaisab Singh's strength. He was talking about how his journey's been up and down and it's been different chapters in his journey. And I really liked the way he expressed that. And I think people like myself, when we get into Sikhi, I feel like we think, okay, that's it. We're going to do 6 months of Simran and that's it. We're going to meet God and we're going to be done. And I think it's not that straightforward. At least it wasn't for me. And then you have this expectation of what it's going to be like, and you're not kind of steady because you're not progressing gradually. You're trying to go all in on something. And I think Sikhi is a bit of a marathon as opposed to a sprint. What are your thoughts on that? Because here in the UK, anyway, we have some people who will go really extreme. They will bana all the time. I don't mean extreme in a negative sense, but they will try and follow all the red. They'll be sabra bibeki. And then I might see them. There's a few people that come to mind who I might see them again a year later and they're monne, and they felt like they had done everything, but they hadn't got what they wanted out of it. And then they've completely gone the other way. And it brings me to what Jassi Benji was saying around it's building that love, it's building that relationship, and it's about where is your mind at. So you could be going through the motions, but if you're just waking up after 2 hours sleep because you want to do what the other person's doing and what other people are going to say, then you might be missing the point a bit. What is your advice for people who are trying to get into it and they maybe want to do everything?
I think for me, like I was born in an Amritari family, so Sikhi was always a part of our life. However, my dad always built our foundation. Like we had to do Amrit Vela together in the morning. We went to Gurmat camps. But every time I would go to the Gurmat camp, everybody would be Amritari. Everybody had this thought on, but I never did. So I would be like, I want to wear this thought. I want to wear Panchkakas. And my dad's like, no. And I used to always get confused. Like, you raised me to be Sikh. I was assuming you wanted me to take Amrit, but he's like, you only want to do it because you're around people who look like it. And you want to feel the vibes that they feel. However, you don't have any of the background. And so you're going to jump into this thinking you're going to feel all the things they're feeling. And I remember, like, I tried to wear my Panchkakas for like 2-3 months, and then I went to school and no one else had their Panchkakas, and I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. And when I was finally 16, I connected more with Gurbani. I wasn't outwardly Sikh, but I was more so inwardly. And that's why I say to everyone, connect with Gurbani first, connect with the Sakhiya first, and then apne aap, like, that tars will come. That desire to be Guru Gobind Singh Ji's daughter or son will be so strong that nothing else will matter anymore. And because you're connected to Gurbani rather than a person or maybe some kids at Gurmat camp, that connection will never break. So I would always tell people, connect with Gurbani first, connect with Sakhiya, build your outward Sikhi later. It'll come very quickly if your connection with Gurbani is strong enough.
And I think, like how Badi was saying, some people are trying to do everything. I do want to recognize that both is possible, right? Why do I say that? Because I'll give you a few examples. Like first of all, I'm going to give the example of Bhagat Ji. Bhagat Ji, when they went into what Mahapurkhs tha, so Sant Gurbachan Singh Ji Khalsa Pindra wale, they went at around the age of 23, 24.
Yeah, early 20s.
So early 20s. And they even write this in their pothi sab. They're like, Charlie Dinach, they got that Amrit Kaur, right? And from that age till they're like 86, they're going to be 87 this year, they've been non-stop doing seva. So that's like one really like a Mahapurkh example. And if I look at gursikh example, I personally know gursikhs, Chardikta gursikhs that have just came into Sikhi like 2 years ago even. And they're at a stage right now where they're like, they're doing katha, they're teaching santhya. They went from like not knowing anything to like that level. But then if I look at myself personally, when I came into Sikhi, like my whole family, entire family is Amritari. So is my everybody else in my other like long distance relationship. But I was like the person that was out of that. But when I got blessed with Sikhi, my journey was very slow. And now, like even with the Bana aspect, I wanted to shine a light on that because I've always wanted to wear a Bana and wanted to get, but I'm trying. But this year I got the finally got the courage to wear a Bana to work, to school. Right, everywhere. And right now, like even right now, I'm wearing a Bana, and I'm trying that because that brain built and that os was there that I want to be every aspect of Guru Sahib. Right, I want to take every aspect, whether it's Bana, Bani, whether Shastra, Vidya, art, whatever it is, I want to, and I'm slowly implementing into my life. So on that retrospect, I think both is possible. And they like some people when they came into Sikhi, when they're come on, they already have that bhakti in them, and they just need that one light, that one spark to just dive deep. And they literally dive deep, and that's it. That's like stability for them. But that's that personal introspection and reflection you have to do for yourself. That am I doing this because this is what I really want? This is where I am. This is where my heart desires. Or am I doing this as hearsay? That's one thing. Every single individual needs to do a personal reflection. Nobody can say anything to anybody else that, hey, you're doing all these, you're going to burn out. You don't know their avastha. You don't know where they're at in their stage. Only they can tell that. Because I've seen both ends of the spectrum, right? And I've seen the middle ground too. And I've been through all of them. So, and I know gursikhs that are on both stages. So I understand that, again, it's a personalized journey.
That's a great answer. And in relation to, you mentioned building pyar, and that's a good place to start as well in terms of the internal journey. What resources or what tips do you have for someone who wants to build that pyar and that shraddha?
I'll tell you a story. Okay, so this is a funny story, but I'll tell it. Mine if I say something wrong. But when I first came to Bhagat Ji's, like first ever, everybody's like saying Fateh to them. So for me in my head, this is my first time ever. First of all, coming like I've been into like blessed with like Sikhi for blessed with Amrit for 2 months, and then I got blessed to see Baba Ji, right? Got their darshan. And everybody's saying Fateh to them. I'm like, who's this grandpa? Why is everybody saying Fateh to them? And they were asking them questions. So I'm like, okay, let me go ask them the question. The biggest thing, this is personally for me, I asked them, my first question, I don't know why, it was Baba Ji, how do we gain prem from Maharaj? How do we get that prem from Guru Sahib? And their answer was really simple. They're like, keep coming and you'll find out. So for me, that was keep coming to Sangat, keep doing what you're doing, keep diving deep, keep wherever you're reaching out, keep doing that for me and you'll get that answer. But another thing a gursikh said to me was, Amrit, if you have questions, ask them. But if they make you to a point where you're wavering, like you're falling off the path, leave them aside and they'll slowly get answered. And for a fact, till this day, that has happened. Like just starting off with that. And I can say that with like 100%. It has happened and it still happens.
So you mean if I'm thinking about people who don't have access to Bhagat Ji and they can do Sangat wherever they are, right? Like if they're in the UK, Canada, US, they find some good Sangat around them and keep doing that?
Yeah. So that aspect of Babari saying keep coming, it wasn't just to keep coming to Bhagat Ji, it's keep going to Sangat, keep going to different Gurbani, Vichar, Arth, Kathas, kids camps, Kathka, wherever it is, wherever you, ਜਿਹੜਾ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਮਨ ਟਿਕਦਾ, wherever your mind, you find that stability, keep going there and then build off from that.
Amazing. And if we go on to the topic of training, because I know you got both train, I follow your journeys and I find your posts really inspiring. And personally, my wife used to train. She used to do running, so not really train, but
running is a sport.
yeah. But I think as she's got busy with the kids and her sangat aren't really as into training, I think there isn't that emphasis, or there isn't that kind of it's not top of mind for her anymore. And the same with a lot of Bibi I know, they get married, they have kids, and they kind of don't exercise anymore as much. And also we have pretty good, well-resourced Gurdwara in the UK, so all the major ones will have free gyms. And I think maybe the kinds of people that go to the gyms, they're more burly, big things, and I don't think Bibi feel that comfortable going to that environment. I'm just trying to hypothesize why it's not as popular for Bibia. But what are your thoughts around the importance of training, and what has your own experience been?
We started training together 3 months before COVID. We went to like a commercial gym, and we were too intimidated to actually work in the gym. And the nice thing about gyms is that they have like a women's section, and then they have like the actual gym. The problem with the women's section is there's just cardio there. There's not really much weights. And we knew from the beginning that we wanted to do weight training rather than just cardio and that kind of stuff. We lasted like 3 months there, and then COVID happened. And then we connected with Imanji Vijis, like Sing Strength. They're also a Bhagat Ji student. And they trained us in their home gym. So that's where we felt really comfortable. There was like no one being like weird or like, it was just us. And like their wife was there too. So like they made sure, because Bhagat Ji has like rules that Singhs and Bibia should never be alone. So that rule was why their wife was also present. So we trained there for like a year and a half?
Yeah.
A year and a half. And then from there, we connected with like our Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu teacher, and she ran only female classes. So Guru Sahib's Kirpa, like we knew we didn't feel comfortable training around Singhs or men. And Guru Sahib just answered our prayers and just kept giving us places where we would feel comfortable.
And the reason why we did want to, first of all, even start off all these things is because we wanted to learn ourselves in order to teach other and create that space for other Bibiyan.
That's always been our goal. Bhagat Ji told us from day one that you guys need to collect 100 Bibiyan. That's what they told us. They said 100, and we said, okay. We did Bibia Kanpat, 100 Bibia came to that. It was exactly 100. And then we did it again the next year, and 100 new Bibia came. And so
on the dot.
It's always on the dot. And that's what our goal has been for the last 3-4 years. It's just collect all the Bibia, unite them, get them strong, give them a space to seva, teach them how to do Santya so that they can go and teach more Bibia Santya. Never keep any knowledge you have. Give it up. And then they'll share it.
Even if you know just the letter Uda,
share it.
But from the aspect of fitness, like one of the amazing things that's like, again, Bhagat Ji and other gursikhs that I've seen, one thing Baba Ji always says is that keep a notebook and write all what you're doing, whatever you're working out, and then go to Guru Sahib's Darbar. Do you know how we peta food, we peta we peta Rumalla Sahib's? Baba Ji said that peta that book to Guru Sahib and do ardas, be like, Maharaj, look how strong I am.
So you give your book to Guru Sahib. You write all the workouts you did and your reps, and then you go like, here you go, Guru Sahib. This is what I did to be Tyar Par Tyar.
That's amazing. That's so inspiring, because your training isn't going to be for you then, it's for your guru, which is going to be such a different mindset and a different approach to training. I really like that.
It is, because Maharaj kende Khalsa Akal Purakh ki Faaj, right? What is that called? We are all part of that Khalsa. So how are we that Faaj if we're not Tyar Par Tyar? If we can't personally walk even 2 kilometers without running out of breath. Right?
We do gym and job classes every Thursday online for kids as well. and we talked about like Vaisakhi for them and what that means. And for us personally, we've always tried to do practicality. What does Sikhi mean in your personal life, and how will it affect you? So
and how you can make it practical.
Yeah, how can you actually put it in your life, not just read Bani and then that's it. So with the Panch Pyare, we're like, okay, let's talk about their names instead. So yeah, Daya means being kind. Like, are you going to help your siblings? Are you going to give your if you get like money from your parents, are you going to give $1 back to someone else? And then we talked about having himmat. So like, we're working on being strong. We're doing exercises, but then also having dharam. So that's the importance of learning the sakhiyan, so you know right from wrong. And then Sahib means adopting Guru Sahib's roop. So actually becoming like them. But these are the 5 virtues you need to become like Guru Gobind Singh Ji. And Guru Gobind Singh Ji, Guru Har Gobind Sahib Ji, they were all super fit. Guru Har Gobind Sahib Ji was so big in like their body, but they were so fast. So that automatically means that Guru Sahib not only did strength training, but they're also doing endurance training. They did plyometric training because they were really quick. When you go through Suraj Prakash, there's so many like stories of when they were fighting Bande Khan. Bande Khan tried to do a vad. Guru Sahib quickly got the horse's girdle, moved it out of the way to protect their foot, and it was a Khadi vad. That means Guru Sahib was doing like plyometric training. They were doing that type of training where they were quick, learning on their feet. So that automatically tells us that we need to be doing that training.
Even like Guru Amrit Kaur Sahib Ji Maharaj, what they carried like a gaggar on their head. That's like a heavy weight.
Yeah. Guru Gobind Singh Ji, their archer was 80 kg. Right.
Or there was even another Sakhi of a gursikh who literally there was a hathi attacking. I forgot who it was, but they climbed over the hathi and they pulled the hathi's ear down because they knew where to press on the ear to make the hathi come down. It's like, where, like, these are crazy things. Like, I want to be able to do all these things personally.
And like, when it comes to being a gursikh, Guru Sahib said, "Pyar bar pyar khalsa banna," right? When you go to India, like, most people, when they go to India, you get to go to there's some sort of gursevak going. We went, like, gursevak.com, VG told us about it too. When I went to Pakkepur, we had to do like mitti. Like, we carry mitti in a big like balti and we put it on our head. We had to go back and forth so many times. They also got to do that. And that to me is like doing overhead press carries, doing a waiter carry. It's all the exact same thing. So I can't do it at the Gurdwara right now, but at least I'm training it in my gym so that when I do get the chance to do seva, I can.
Even like, sorry, we just start having a conversation with each other. But even like Bhagat Ji in their health poti sab, they tell you that prevention is the cure. How to eat, walk, talk, how to exercise. One of the things they said that Bhagat Puran Singh Ji nu sir te saja ke 8 kilometer road turo. That means like take that embodiment of Bhagat Puran Singh Ji, like sir te saja ke, as in like bring that within yourself and walk 8 kilometers every single day, which Bhagat Puran Singh Ji did. What an amazing way to think of exercise.
Yeah.
ਕਿ ਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦੇ ਗੁਰਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਸਿਰ ਤੇ ਸਜਾ ਕੇ ਦਾ ਉਹ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਸੀ, ਆਪਾਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਸਿਰ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਸਰੂਪ ਆਪਾਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਧਾਰਿਆ ਹੋਇਆ, ਸਜਾਇਆ ਹੋਇਆ, that we're embodying them, right? Because we are that. We are Sahib.
Yeah. That's the whole point of Khalsa, right? Why did Guru Sahib make the Khalsa? It was to literally identify us so that we look like Guru Gobind Singh Sahib. We look like them, right? And to look like them, you have to act like them. That's literally the first step. To do their maryada, follow everything that they're saying. And even when it comes to gym, right, be strong, but what, like Bhagat Ji said, like keep Bhagat Puran Singh Ji in your mind, right? Same thing with Guru Sahib. We can all be super strong. We can deadlift and squat and everything, but if you're not having Gurbani playing, there's no point. Like when Bande Khan lost to Guru Har Gobind Singh Ji, he literally said, the reason why you won, I'm stronger. He said, I know I'm stronger, but you have Shakti, you have power, and that's why you won. And that's why with the Panch Pyari's name too, you can have the himmat, but if you don't have the dharam, you're not going to become like Sahib.
Or there or any other Panch Pyari.
Nothing, yeah.
Amazing.
Long answer. As you can tell, we're pretty passionate about this.
Yeah, and it comes through and it's really inspiring. And have you noticed any personal benefits? Because when I do some health talks and I try and get people to do some exercise, I think as the people in Sangat, we probably have about 80-20 split. 80% of people do some form of exercise, and 20% do some form of exercise and 80% probably don't do anything. And then I try and sell it to them and say, you'll be able to sit for longer. and you won't get as much pain in your knees and that type of stuff. Have you experienced any practical benefits of exercise?
Yeah.
Everything, I think because to me exercise and Sikhi are not separate. I think they are one. I don't think they're two different things. I don't think you can be a Sikh and not exercise. That's what Bhagat Ji says.
Wow.
Sitting on roll and not being able to run out of breath, maybe.
Yeah.
During the Kanpar Sahib rolls. On a serious note, like for fitness, your mind is more stable.
Mm-hmm.
For a fact, your mind is more stable. You are able to focus more. Because one of the things that we learned, Baba Ji always says this, jarasim, right? Jarasim are like a bunch of vikars in us. When we move our body, like you'll see video of Baba Ji doing this or moving their head or always going like this with their hand,
hula hooping,
right? Or like punching their glutes and thighs, right? Everybody at the starting, even we used to laugh like, but why is Baba Ji doing that? But that actually increases blood flow. Or always, they're always saying that always stomp your feet. Or even when you're sitting, or do hula hoop, like start shaking your body, even when you're driving, or breathe in and out with your stomach, like go in and out with your stomach when you're sitting, because every single thing is movement. And when you're doing that, your jarasim, your whole body, all the vikars in your body start shaking, and that like releases those, let's say, negative energy, right? Negative energy, and then you're able to focus more on the positivity.
Even in like Gurbani, Guru Sahib talks about being a wrestler, being a horse rider, like being strong. That doesn't necessarily mean a physical horse rider or being a physical wrestler. Although I always, like, we are more practical, so we like to apply both ways in real life and like spiritually. But like Guru Sahib says, "Maan lathe lende feriya nihte panj jawan mein gur thapi ditti kande jiyo." Right. So yes, I'm a wrestler, and I'm going to enter the arena, and I'm going to fight, and I'm going to throw my challengers, right? Today, it may be somebody actually on the streets, and that's why it's important for us to learn Shastra Vidya, learn martial arts, learn jiu-jitsu. But those moves are also going to teach me how to control my inner enemies, who are the Panch Vikat, every single day. So doing having discipline with my actual exercise regime is the same discipline I apply to my spiritual routine.
And you just feel like a boss, man. That's like reality.
Yeah, literally.
I feel like a boss every time I work out, or I go like Maharaj Kerpo, that's Maharaj's badai, right? But every time we work out or do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, or like just do a takedown in BJJ, right? Or like Dasi's also learning Muay Thai right now. So just punching the bag, it's like you feel that power, that energy. It's like, it's amazing, like what the like things that your body can really do.
Yeah. Plus, like, we read every single day, and every Kathavachu will always say, "You're so lucky you got this human body." But do we even respect it? Like, Har Mandir Eho Sareer hai. Our body is literally Har Mandir. And here we are, like, feeding it really bad food, not using it, letting it become like stagnant, not being so stationary. And then to the point where we can't bend our knees anymore to even like,
it's like one really amazing perspective that a gursikh shared with me, that Bhagat Ji shared with them. They're like, I'm going to say it in Punjabi, then I'll say it in English too. They're like, hey mana, je tu jaanda a sareer Guru Sahib da, then would you treat it the same way? If you know that these very hands, if you thought of them as these very hands being Guru Sahib themselves, would you treat these hands the same way you're treating it right now? This body is literally Guru Sahib themselves, right? Would you treat that body in the way that you're treating it right now? What are you doing with it?
I wanted to ask about diet and the influence of a westernized diet like pizza, pasta, chips every day, and the impact that has on health. What's your perspectives on diet?
So I think that is a journey as well. For me personally, it's a huge journey because I love food and I'm that pizza, pastas diet. But since like we met Bhagat Ji, we've been trying to implement what they tell us into our diet, and then slowly building up to it, because the way that they eat is extremely sadda. Like, it's like what you would basically eat back in the days, and they only eat what they grow. Like in the summer, whatever they grow, that's what they eat. And they buy kernels, like whole wheat kernels, and they hand grind it. And they hand grind it with a chakki, and it's extremely hard to do with a chakki.
They have electric ones, but they have the hand one.
Yeah, so they use both, and they eat very sadda, so no tadka to their food, because again, like basically satoguni foods. Like there's different aspects of food as well. Like if we, Benji would know better, if when you do psychology, there's certain foods that like when you're in depression you should eat because they help with your hormones and your thoughts and emotions and feelings. So that's the same thing that Bhagat Ji applies to the food. That the food that they tell us is like bhakti dara, like how to attain that bhakti dara, pura sadda khana, like completely sadda khana. They eat dal, they sarblo, which they eat chakki atta, they dalia, they eat nuts, milk, fruits.
Even fruits, if it's high in sugar, they don't even eat that.
Yeah, so very sadda food that it'll be enough to sustain your body, but
literally to sustain.
Literally to sustain.
Live to eat, not live. Live to eat, not to. What's the saying?
I don't know.
I think it's eat to live, not live to eat.
Yeah, there you go.
So that's the ideal like situation when you're going on the bhakti that you want to reach. But for us, like we implement small things. Like for example, we eat chakki atta.
Right? Gande.
We don't eat
tadka.
No tadka. No cha. Like coffee. So cha is actually I'm gonna put this out there. It's like I was doing research. Cha and coffee is actually the number 2 drug in the world. Right? It's very addictive, and you can see that in the community. And even if you go back into the research of it, how it was brought in by the British as like a form of drug. Right? There was like even back in the Jatha, cha was seen like as a bajjar kura. Like you would have to be blessed with Amrit. Like why people are going to be like to such an extreme cha ta san idea, but if you see the negative effects of it,
it's a drug. You can't stop drinking it. And before this, like maybe 50 years ago, cha was banned in the Gurdwara. There would be no such thing as cha in the Gurdwara. And now it's like an everyday life. We did like smagams and camps with Experience Sikhi. And we also, like, because the Panj Pyare, they don't drink cha. They tell us not to drink cha and everything. We were like a no cha camp, no cha smagam. And we had people like sneak in cha because they just were like, we need cha. And that's really like scary to think of, that we can't last a day without it.
But it's doable. Like I'll give you an example of my mom. Bhagat did button to her to not to drink cha. She hasn't been drinking for 2 years. Usually people will be like, oh, my head hurts, but she's totally fine. And there's so many other aunties that have been drinking cha as like routine that stopped drinking it now because of the bachans, and it has been improving their health. Like if we look at our food in the Gurdwara, it's a huge problem. Tale padar, samosa, pakode, all these things. So this is like everybody, I know usually when people hear this, they're like, whoa, stop.
It's not that hard to implement if you do it
step by step,
little bit by little. Like we didn't start off taking all these things out right away. Some of things, luckily, we never started. So it wasn't like, we had to take it out. But it was like in a 7-day week, okay, like every day we eat prashadda, let's just turn that into chakki atta now. We eat dal maybe 4 times a week, let's just do no tadka dal. So like, my opinion, even as like a trainer, I'm always like, if you like to eat burgers, you like to eat pizza, like you can still do it, but add a salad in, add dal in, like, and then slowly that dal gets bigger and the pizza gets smaller, and eventually you don't even want the food.
I like to experiment. So I actually experiment with like the full out gursevak diet for a year.
I did 60 days. Only.
I did it for a year, and the changes, buddy, I saw in my body at that time, my mind, my health, my sleep, every single thing. It was crazy.
Wow.
I can't tell you, it was crazy. Then because school happened and I didn't consistently keep it, I kind of went down. So now I'm slowly starting to rebuild on it, because I know the effects that the changes they had in my body. It was crazy. I did it for a strict year. And these guys know how they get so annoyed. They're like, oh, you don't want to eat this either? I'm like, no.
Wow,
and she's a
amazing.
Foodie.
And I'm a foodie. I like
out
food.
Of all the gursevaks, I feel like she's the foodie, and everybody else is like, if we get food, it's fine, and if not, it's not a big deal.
Wow.
But I think the biggest sikhya from food though was Babaji. Like if you meet Babaji, they'll always say, "Bina santokh nahi ko raja." Bina santokh, without santokh, you will never be fulfilled. Even if I give you like one prashadda, but the thing is, if I give you a prashadda and dal, it's not like tastes super sweet or has a lot of salt or sugar in it. So you're going to eat just to sustain.
But their food is so good.
Yeah, if you go to Baba Ji's eating chakki atta with no loon prashada, anything in the dal, it still tastes amazing. But you're just eating those two prashad. But if I give you like a box of pizza, I've seen people eat the whole box of pizza because there's stuff in there, right, that you can't have santokh with. So the diet isn't simply for just like, oh, we want to feed ourselves good food. It's your mental. It's the santokh part. The santokh part goes into everything, your fashion, having santokh with your fashion, having santokh with your food, having santokh with your sleep, having santokh with
environment stuff.
Your environment. That Bina Santokh Nahi Ko Raja is Babaji's slogan. It applies to every part of the world.
So listeners are probably like, whoa, this is too much. Hold up, back up, right? So we'll give steps, right? The steps that we're following is start off with one thing. Start off with maybe decreasing it 1 day a week. So I personally started off with sugar because I like sugar a lot. Decreasing it to like not eating it I ate it for 5 days a week. Then I would decrease it to 4 days a week. Right now, it's like 2-3 days. So it's still that progress that's building.
Amazing.
We don't have like a strict diet plan that people can follow. It's just like slowly implementing like a healthier aspect of everything into your life slowly.
Sustainable.
And in terms of the evidence on behavior change, your methods make a lot of sense because they look at, I'm reading a book on neuroscience at the moment, and there's the science behind learning and the myelation of nerve fibers. And the more you repeat a behavior, like smoking, for example, those nerve fibers, those pathways in the brain get solidified and they get myelinated. So you can't undo myelination of a nerve fiber, but you can supersede it with another behavior. So what they advise in psychology is not to give up something, but find something which is better for you. And as you do that more and more, you won't want to do the other thing as much, if that makes any sense. So what you're doing is in line with the current science. So it's incredible. You've mentioned a lot of lifestyle related stuff. Some of it you mentioned was in Babaji's Botti. Where can people access this stuff? If you're in the UK or the US, if you don't have the blessing to be in Babaji's Sangat, like how do you link in with it?
gursevak.com. Everything is on there. And our app, Learn Shudh Gurbani.
With the Poti subs, if there's somebody beginner opens it, for a fact, even me, it's really hard to navigate through it because it's a lot of information thrown at you. And for us, because we've done that much been blessed with the Sangat and been trying to implement it and see gursikhs doing these things, it's easier for us. So with the Poti subs, like I would also recommend, we have a lot of online classes, is join those, or like we post like little snippets on gursevak sevadars on Instagram that we think that Sangat will be able to take in better. Start following with that. Like we posted a lot of fitness stuff, we posted a lot of food stuff, like Garibi test, how to actually implement those Gurbani Panktiyan, those food aspects, health aspects into your every single day life. Like ukende ek ta sunna hunda, like you listen to Sonia di char podi and then Manya di char podiyan, to actually implement it then into your life. That, hey, I'll give you a small example, like ro sona kija amrito pija rahano nahi sansare. It's about anger. So whenever you get angry, if you're repeating that pankti so much, that pankti will come to your head in that moment that you need it. Okay, yeah. That's like affirmations that people nowadays are really building up, that I am this, I'm that. Though the Gurbani G's are affirmation, but we don't know how to bring that into our life. So you do 2 pankti jobs and start off there, and 100% reach out.
Yeah, if you message us on Gursevak Sevadar or even on Ajdinews, we always answer. And people ask, I'm currently struggling with Hankar. Then you give them Jadev Tyagyo Ahme. And then you give them the Sakhi, give them the Garibi Poti, where it is, read this, understand this, and then like for 1400 job, right?
Yeah. And recognizing that a lot of the times people think that these things are gonna come like this. Yeah. I'm reading the Bani Pankti, no change is happening. It's not what's happening. It's like you're reading it, but are you really trying to take that step to implement it? That role, that jo disa so tera roop, that hey, that person, like Jaswinder Kaur, that person is actually Maharaj's roop. Right? She is actually like bringing that thought into your head. It's called, like in psychology, it's like rewiring your brain, right? Keep on bringing that thought into your head. That's what Gurbani Ji does. Guru Sahib says so many different, the same lessons in so many different ways.
And that's, I think it's because Guru Sahib also knew there's different types of people. Everybody will understand things at a different aspect, different age, different gender.
Different
and that's
lens.
why Guru Sahib had to give the same teaching in several different metaphors and different examples.
Pankti Sahib Mera Neeto Nava Sada Sada Dataru. The Maharaj is Nit Nave. They're every single second, every single thing that they say, they're forever new. Like that one Pankti that applied to you 2 weeks ago, it meant something else, but that same Pankti can mean something else right now in this moment to you.
The other thing with the Garibi job is like, right now, like I may have Hunkar, right? And I did job of Jadev Yaglo Ahmdev. I did the job of it. I memorized the Bani. I wrote it down in my test. I sent it to a gursevak to check. But I had Hunkar a week later. And then a week later after that, I remembered the Pankti. It took 7 days to remember it. But the more job of I do it, then maybe it'll be 3 days closer to when I had Hunkar. Maybe then 2 days when I had Hunkar. And maybe 24 hours after Hunkar. And then maybe 10 minutes. Like eventually.
Sorry, can I just hold that thought? I just need to plug the charger in. Sorry.
I don't want to say the Pankti wrong. I feel like I am.
No, you're not. This is why we needed our Garibi job test have to be more. We had back then we had so much more body memorized.
Yeah,
we were doing so much.
We
job.
should do our game again. Pankti game where you lost.
Yeah. We can do that. Yeah, we can do that. It's so sad. Like these 2 years, our Pankti are all gone.
But they'll come back. I'm just kidding.
They'll come back.
So baby.
Oh, like for example, a mistake. Like if you make a mistake, one thing that we always do is if we're going through something, we reach out to a gursikh and be like, this is what we're struggling with, without giving details. Can you give me a Pankti to do a job? Right? We've gotten to that point, but before these things didn't make sense to me at all. I'm not going to lie. I'm like, because we expect that change to happen so fast, but it doesn't. Like if I'm struggling with the past, one thing that Baba Ji always says is, remember this Pankti, that your infinite mistakes, Guru Sahib forgives you in 2 seconds. Right? Guru Sahib is forever forgiving. So why are you holding that against yourself? And I really had to do that job again and again and again and again. And then I struggled to talk to gursikhs again, did that job again, and then really started to learn to forgive myself that, hey, it's okay, let's move forward.
That's why the Garibi test is really good. Like I remember I went to Babaji's and I wanted to read like Sad Part all the time to Babaji, and Babaji's like, stop. And I was there like Garibi Poti. And I was like, I have been reading Bani for this much time. I should be reading Sad Part. And they're like, no, you haven't even got to the basics. And it was Garibi Poti. And then we read that like so many times, 5 times with audio. And then the Garibi tests, like all these Panktiyan we're giving you, they're from Garibi Poti. And it's because Babaji always instilled there, like without Garibi, you're not going nowhere.
And
if
even all the other Pankti, like Pant, for food part, he was talking Pant, Pachat Pakavana, Upchat Rog, Dehatin Nanna. That we eat so many tarantara de food, Pant. We eat so many different foods, but we don't recognize that these foods are actually going to Upchat Rog. What do? They create diseases in our body. And Dehatin Nanna, different types of diseases in our body. So if you read that Pankti, before you're like about to open that fridge, like this is a reality. Like whenever I'm about to eat something, some sort of Pankti that I've done job of so many times comes to my head. And at that point, you have that choice to either be ignorant and ignore that, or act on it and be like, okay, what is the positive step I can take? And that happens with Pankti job.
Yeah, and the practicality of that is like at our every like house, like Babaji students, we'll have boards of like those shabas like Pant Pant Pachit Bhagwana or Mitha Goda Do Verog or Baba Hurkhana Kusi Pua Jit Khada Tan Piriya Man Mahachal Vikar. We have all the panktiyan. And we have them on a board right in our kitchen. So that right in our like where our table is too, so that when we're eating, we're looking at it, we're doing namaskara to it, because Gurpura Namaskare Prabh Sabbe Kaj Savare, but also to control our mind of like Santokh Ranaya.
Amazing.
Those are all from Health Pothi, Gribi Pothi.
Amazing. It's a really inspiring conversation. And I think if it's okay with you guys, I'd love to do it again at some point as well and get some feedback of the Sangat topics that they want to cover, because I think you articulate it really well. Most of the Sikhs that I know who are in the Sangat, local Sangat, the English is probably their first language. So having somebody able to communicate those concepts is really, really helpful. And to have that depth of knowledge with Gurbani as well is just really, really valuable. So thank you so much for everything that you guys do. And also the Jatha, and also for doing this podcast as well, taking the time out. I really, really appreciate it. And just, yeah, please forgive any mistakes. Okay, Bhai Jugraj Singh Ka Khalsa.